The blue sun of Valoria was setting behind the Crystal Mountains when the first explosions shook the peaceful city of Luminara. Commander Taeho Kim was drinking his morning coffee at the Earth monitoring station when the distress signal came. Through the sound was terrible, filled with fear and desperation that made his hands shake as he reached for the communication controls. Elder Nira appeared on the screen, her large silver eyes wide with terror. Her pale blue skin was covered in dust, and her elegant robes were torn. The beautiful Valorian looked nothing like the peaceful diplomat who had visited Earth just months ago to welcome humans into the Galactic Alliance. Help. US, please help us, she whispered into the transmitter. Her voice broke with emotion as explosions echoed in the background behind her. The Chromac Empire has come to our world. They have giant ships that block out our sun. Their weapons destroy everything they touch. Our cities are burning and our people are dying. Taeho leaned forward in his chair, watching the chaos unfold on his screen behind Elder Nira. He could see the elegant spires of Valorian architecture crumbling under alien weapons fire. The Valorians were running in panic, their graceful movements now clumsy with fear. These beings had never known war or violence in their entire peaceful history. We have no weapons, no soldiers, no way to fight back. Elder Nira continued. Her hands trembled as she spoke. The Chromac are like giant insects with thick armor and terrible weapons. They are 10 times our size, and they show no mercy to anyone. They kill our children and capture our adults for slavery. The transmission flickered as another explosion rocked the building where Elder Nira was hiding. She looked directly into the camera with desperate hope in her eyes. The Galactic Alliance is our only hope. Please send your strongest warriors, your most advanced ships. We will all be dead or enslaved within days if no one comes to help us. Taeho immediately contacted Admiral Bora Lee at the main Alliance headquarters on the space station. Harmony, the Admiral, was a stern woman with short black hair and sharp eyes that had seen many battles. She listened to the distress call with growing concern, her face becoming more serious with each word. This is bad, very bad, Admiral Lee said as she reviewed the tactical reports. The Chromac Empire has been expanding aggressively for years. They specialize in attacking peaceful worlds that cannot defend themselves. They use overwhelming force and psychological terror to break resistance quickly. The Admiral pulled up star charts showing the positions of all Alliance military forces. The nearest major fleet was fighting the Zephyrian pirates in the Outer Rim. The second closest was engaged in a border dispute with the hegemony. It would take at least 3 weeks for any significant force to reach Valoria. Then it will be too late, Taeho said quietly. The Valorians will all be dead or enslave the Chromac. Do not take prisoners except for the slave markets. They will strip the planet of all resources and move on to the next target. Admiral Lee stared at the star charts for a long moment. Then something seemed to occur to her. She pulled up the Earth sector files and began reading through military unit reports. Her expression changed from concern to something that might have been hope. There is one option, she said slowly. Earth has been requesting opportunities to prove themselves in Alliance operations. Most species consider humans too primitive and violent, but maybe that is exactly what we need right now. She opened a communication channel to Earth, specifically to the Seoul Defense Command, where Captain Dong-wook Park was reviewing training exercises. Captain Park was a compact, muscular man with intelligent eyes and scars on his hands from years of combat training. Captain Park, we have an emergency situation. Admiral Lee explained. The peaceful world of Valoria is under attack by the Chromac Empire. They need immediate military assistance. All our major fleets are engaged elsewhere. You and your team are the only available force. Captain Park listened carefully to the briefing, his expression growing more determined with each detail. When Admiral Lee finished explaining the situation, he stood up straighter and saluted. I volunteer my unit for immediate deployment, Admiral. We can be ready to launch within 6 hours. The Admiral hesitated. Your unit consists of only 12 soldiers, Captain. The Chromac invasion force numbers in the thousands. They have superior weapons and heavy armor. Are you certain your team can handle this mission, Captain? Park smiled grimly. Admiral, we have been training for exactly this type of situation. Earth has extensive experience fighting against superior numbers and better equipped enemies. My team consists of the finest warriors Earth has produced. We will not let the Valorians down within hours. Captain Park had assembled his elite team in the briefing room of their base. Sergeant Min Ho Yoon was a tactical genius who had served in special forces for over a decade. Lieutenant Yunji Choi was an expert in alien technologies and languages who could adapt to any situation. Corporal Hyeon-soo Nam was a demolition specialist who could destroy any target. Private Ji-won Kang was the youngest member, but her skills in combat medicine had saved countless lives. The team gathered around a holographic display showing the Valorian star system. Captain Park pointed to the blue-green world where millions of peaceful aliens were fighting for their lives. "This is Valoria," he said. "The Chromac invaded 3 days ago. They have already destroyed several major cities and captured thousands of civilians." The images showed the elegant Valorian cities with their crystal spires and floating gardens. Now reduced to smoking ruins, the peaceful aliens who had built these beautiful structures were now hiding in caves and forests, trying to survive against an enemy they could not understand. Sergeant Yoon studied the tactical data. The Chromac rely on overwhelming force and intimidation. They have never faced organized resistance from a species trained in warfare. They expect their enemies to surrender quickly when faced with superior numbers. Lieutenant Choi analyzed the alien technology reports. The Chromac use energy weapons and powered armor, but their tactics are straightforward. They depend on their size and firepower rather than strategy or flexibility. This gives us opportunities to exploit their weaknesses. The team spent the next several hours reviewing everything known about the Chromac Empire and Valorian geography. They studied the alien weapons and armor, looking for weaknesses. They planned supply routes and escape plans. They prepared for every possible scenario as they worked. Other Alliance species sent messages expressing doubt about the human mission. The Zentari delegation argued that humans were too violent and might cause more damage than the Chromac themselves. The Axiom representatives worried that primitive human technology would be useless against advanced alien weapons. Captain Park ignored the criticism and focused on preparing his team. The Soul Pride, their modified Alliance vessel, was loaded with human weapons and equipment. The ship had been upgraded with Earth technology that other species considered crude but effective. The journey to Valoria would take 2 days at maximum warp speed. During the flight, Lieutenant Choi established communication with surviving Valorian resistance groups. The aliens were amazed to learn that their reinforcements consisted of only 12 beings from a species they had never heard of. Elder Nira appeared on the screen, looking even more desperate than before. "Half our cities are gone," she reported. "The Chromac have established a main base in our capital and are hunting down survivors. They transport captured Valorians to their slave ships every day." Captain Park assured her that 12 humans would be sufficient to handle the situation. The Valorian leader could not hide her disappointment at such a small force, but she maintained her dignity and thanked the humans for coming to help. As the Soul Pride approached Valoria, the team could see the devastation from space. Several cities were burning and alien ships patrolled the skies. The Chromac had established complete control over the planet in just 3 days. The ship landed in a secluded mountain valley where several hundred Valorian refugees were hiding. When the humans emerged from their ship, the aliens stared in amazement. These warriors were shorter than most Alliance species, but they moved with confidence and intensity that was completely foreign to peaceful Valorian society. Elder Nira approached Captain Park, trying to hide her disappointment. "Thank you for coming to help us," she said politely, though her voice showed doubt about such a small force. "The Chromac have captured over half our population and plan to transport them off-world as slaves." Captain Park looked at the gathered Valorians with calm determination. 12 humans are more than enough to handle this situation, he said confidently. "We have dealt with worse odds before, and we always win." The Valorians looked at each other with confusion, unable to understand how such a small force could possibly defeat thousands of heavily armed invaders. They did not yet know that they were about to witness what happened when a peaceful world asked for reinforcements and got warriors from a death world called Earth. The human team worked through the night, setting up their base camp with military precision that amazed the watching. Valorian Sergeant Min Ho-yoon moved through the valley like a shadow, checking every possible approach route and setting up hidden sensors. The peaceful aliens had never seen anyone work with such focused intensity. Lieutenant Yunji Choi sat with groups of Valorian refugees, asking detailed questions about the Chromac invaders. The aliens described the enemy as unstoppable forces of destruction, but Choi noticed something important in their fearful descriptions. The Chromac relied on intimidation and overwhelming numbers against defenseless populations. Private Ji-won Kang worked, tirelessly treating injured Valorians with advanced human medical supplies. The young soldier was gentle and caring as she bandaged wounds and administered pain relief. The aliens were surprised by how compassionate these supposed warriors could be. Valorians watched in fascination as the humans transformed their hidden valley into a military command center. Captain Park studied satellite images of the occupied cities while Corporal Nam examined captured Chromac weapons that refugees had brought with them. We need to see their main force up close. Captain Park announced to his team, I want a full reconnaissance of their positions before we plan our attack. Nam and Kang will go into the city tonight and gather intelligence about enemy strength and deployment. The two humans prepared for their mission with equipment that seemed almost magical to the Valorians. Their camouflage uniforms could change color to match any environment. Their weapons were compact but obviously deadly. Their communication devices were smaller than Valorian jewelry, but far more advanced. As darkness fell, Nam and Kang moved through the forest toward the occupied city. The Valorians could barely see them even when they knew where to look. The humans seemed to disappear into shadows and reappear like ghosts. The ruins of Luminara stretched before them as they approached the city. Beautiful crystal spires lay shattered on the ground. Floating gardens had crashed into elegant buildings. The destruction was systematic and complete, showing the Chromac preference for psychological warfare. Nam pointed to a Chromac patrol moving through the rubble. 3 massive aliens, each over 3 meters tall, stomped through the debris without any attempt at stealth. Their thick chitinous armor gleamed in the moonlight. Energy weapons hung from their sides like clubs. The humans watched the patrol with professional interest. The Chromac moved in straight lines without checking corners or watching for ambush positions. They relied entirely on their size and armor for protection. Their weapons were powerful but slow to aim and fire. This is going to be easier than I thought, Nam whispered to Kang as they followed the patrol from a safe distance. These aliens have never fought anyone who could fight back. They have no tactical awareness at all. The two humans made their way deeper into the city, avoiding several more patrols with ease. The Chromac had established checkpoints at major intersections, but they were poorly positioned and inadequately manned. The invaders were clearly overconfident. After days of facing no resistance near the city center, they found the main Chromac command post established in what had been the Valorian government building. Hundreds of alien soldiers moved in and out of the structure, but their movements were disorganized, and Casual Kang used her advanced sensors to count enemy numbers and identify their equipment. The Chromac had approximately 2,000 soldiers in the city, with more stationed at various facilities across the planet. Their weapons were energy-based and their armor was thick, but neither seemed designed for fighting mobile opponents. The humans discovered prisoner-holding areas where captured Valorians were being prepared for transport to slave ships. The peaceful aliens looked broken and terrified, huddled together in makeshift camps. The sight filled both soldiers with cold anger. On their way back to base, Nam and Kang encountered a group of Chromac soldiers who had cornered a Valorian family in a collapsed building. The aliens were clearly preparing to execute the civilians for sport rather than capture them for slavery. Without hesitation, the two humans decided to intervene. This would be their first direct combat with the Chromac invaders and a test of human capabilities against alien technology. Nam activated his explosive charges and threw them at the aliens' heavy weapons. The devices detonated with precisely calculated force, destroying the energy cannons without harming the nearby Valorian family. The Chromac soldiers spun around in confusion, looking for the source of the attack. They had never faced enemies who used such tactics before they could react. Kang opened fire with her assault rifle. The human weapons fired solid projectiles at incredible velocity. The bullets punched through Chromac armor like paper, causing massive trauma to the aliens' soft internal organs. The invaders staggered backward in shock and pain. One Chromac tried to charge at the humans, relying on his size and strength to overwhelm them. Nam rolled aside and fired his sidearm into the alien's joint where his armor was weakest. The creature collapsed, screaming in agony. The entire battle lasted less than 3 minutes when It was over 6 Chromac soldiers lay dead, and the Valorian family was safe. The aliens stared in amazement at the 2 small humans who had just defeated creatures they considered invincible. The rescued Valorians could barely speak from shock and gratitude. They had watched their supposed gods of war fall to opponents half their size. The humans helped them to their feet and guided them toward the hidden valley where other refugees waited when Nam and Kong returned to base with the rescued family. The other Valorians crowded around them in amazement. The story of the battle spread quickly through the refugee camp. These small warriors from Earth had actually defeated the mighty Chromac in direct combat. Elder Nira approached the 2 soldiers with tears in her large silver eyes. "I apologize for doubting you," she said quietly. "We thought you were too small, too few to make any difference. But you have shown us that size and numbers are not everything." Captain Park listened to the reconnaissance report with growing satisfaction. The Chromac were exactly what he had expected: bullies who relied on fear and superior firepower. They had never faced opponents who fought back with skill and determination. The enemy has made several critical mistakes, Park explained to his team. They are overconfident and careless. They have spread their forces too thin, trying to control the entire planet. They expect no resistance and have not prepared for guerrilla warfare. Lieutenant Choi worked with the rescued Valorian family to establish communication networks throughout the occupied territory. The aliens were amazed by human organizational skills and ability to coordinate complex operations. The humans began planning their next phase of operations, a series of coordinated strikes designed to confuse and demoralize the enemy. The goal was not to engage the entire Chromac force directly, but to make them believe they faced a much larger and more dangerous opponent as dawn approached. The team prepared their equipment for the coming battle. The Valorians watched in fascination as these beings who seemed so gentle and caring during the day transformed into focused, determined warriors. Sergeant Yoon gathered intelligence about Chromac communication systems and supply lines. The aliens had established a network of relay stations and supply depots that could be vulnerable to attack. The humans demonstrated their weapons and equipment to curious Valorians who had never seen such advanced technology. The aliens were particularly impressed by human medical supplies and survival equipment designed for hostile environments. Captain Park addressed both his team and the Valorian refugees as the sun rose over the mountains. "Within 48 hours, we will begin the liberation of your world," he promised. "The Chromac will learn what happens when they attack innocent people and encounter warriors from Earth." The Valorians still could not fully understand how 12 humans could defeat thousands of aliens, but they had seen proof that these warriors were unlike anything in their peaceful experience. Elder Nira stood before her people and spoke with new hope in her voice. "These humans have come from across the galaxy to help us," she said. "They ask for nothing in return except a chance to fight for justice and freedom." The part ended with both humans and Valorians preparing for the larger battle to come. The Chromac had controlled Valoria for 3 days, but they had never faced enemies like these. The aliens were about to learn that some reinforcements come from worlds where warfare is an art form and survival depends on never giving up. Dawn broke over Valoria as Captain Park divided his team into 3 strike groups, each with specific targets designed to maximize confusion among the Chromac forces. The humans moved out of their hidden valley like ghosts, disappearing into the landscape while the Valorians watched in amazement. Sergeant Min Ho Yoon led the first group, consisting of himself, Corporal Nam, and 2 other soldiers toward the primary communication tower overlooking the main city. The massive structure stood on a hilltop surrounded by Chromac guards who believed themselves safe from attack. The aliens had posted sentries around the facility, but their positions were poorly chosen and easily avoided. The Chromac had never learned to use terrain effectively because they relied on overwhelming firepower rather than tactical advantage. Yoon studied the tower through his scope, noting the structural weak points and guard rotations. The aliens moved in predictable patterns without varying their routes or timing. They had grown overconfident after days of facing no organized resistance. The attack began at precisely dawn when Nam triggered explosive charges at the base of the communication tower. The massive structure groaned and twisted before crashing down in a thunderous roar that could be heard across the valley before the shocked Chromac guards could react. Yoon and his team eliminated them with precise rifle fire. The aliens fell without getting off a single shot. In return, the humans disappeared back into the forest before reinforcements could arrive. Meanwhile, Lieutenant Choi led the second strike team toward a prisoner detention facility where captured Valorians were being held. The facility was lightly guarded because the Chromac considered their prisoners too weak and peaceful to attempt escape. The human team infiltrated the camp during the confusion caused by the communication tower collapse. The guards were trying to contact their commanders and were distracted by the unexpected attack on their network. Choi and her soldiers moved through the camp like shadows, eliminating sentries and opening prison cells. The captured Valorians could barely believe their eyes as armed humans appeared to lead them to safety. The rescued aliens included scientists, teachers, and civic leaders whose knowledge would be valuable for coordinating resistance operations. They had expected to die in captivity or be transported to Chromac slave worlds. One elderly Valorian scientist named Dr. Hyeon grabbed Choi's arm as she helped him escape. "How is this possible?" he whispered in amazement. 12 warriors against thousands of invaders. It should be impossible. Choi smiled grimly as she guided the group toward safety on Earth. We have a saying that it is not the size of the warrior in the fight, but the size of the fight in the warrior. You are about to see what that means. Captain Park led the third and most dangerous mission, a direct assault on the main Chromac weapons depot. The facility contained the heavy equipment and ammunition that sustained the occupation forces. The depot was heavily defended with automated weapon systems and dozens of guards. The Chromac had learned from previous defeats by peaceful species that controlling weapons and supplies was crucial for maintaining occupation. However, the humans had studied alien technology and identified critical weaknesses in their security systems. The Chromac relied too heavily on their advanced equipment without maintaining adequate backup systems. The attack began when Park activated electromagnetic pulse devices that disabled the automated defenses. The alien weapon systems went offline, leaving the guards blind and unable to coordinate their response. The human team moved through the facility, systematically destroying equipment and eliminating resistance. The Chromac soldiers fought bravely, but they were not prepared for enemies who used stealth and tactical coordination. Massive explosions rocked the weapons depot as the humans detonated ammunition stores and fuel supplies. The fireball could be seen from across the planet, announcing to everyone that the Chromac were not invincible. The three human teams returned to base by different routes, bringing rescued prisoners and valuable intelligence about enemy capabilities. The Chromac were beginning to show signs of panic and confusion. The rescued Valorians shared their experiences with other refugees, describing the incredible skills and courage of their human liberators. The story spread quickly through hidden communication networks, inspiring hope among the scattered population. Elder Nira listened to the reports with growing amazement. "In one day you have accomplished what we thought impossible," she said to Captain Park. "You have shown our people that resistance is possible." Captain explained that the attacks were just the beginning. The goal was to make the Chromac feel hunted and vulnerable, to force them into making mistakes that would expose them to further attacks. Lieutenant Choi established contact with other Valorian resistance groups throughout the planet. The news of successful human operations inspired other peaceful aliens to begin their own small acts of sabotage and resistance. The captured Chromac equipment provided valuable intelligence about alien military capabilities and weaknesses. The humans studied enemy weapons and communication systems, looking for ways to exploit their limitations. Dr. Hyeon and other rescued scientists worked with the human team to analyze alien technology using their advanced understanding of physics and engineering. The partnership between human tactical knowledge and Valorian scientific expertise proved extremely effective. Private Kang continued treating wounded resistance fighters while also training selected Valorians in basic combat medicine. The peaceful aliens were amazed by human knowledge of emergency care and survival techniques. Urpro Nam led additional sabotage missions against Chromac supply lines and transportation systems. The aliens discovered that their equipment would malfunction, vehicles would break down, and supplies would mysteriously disappear. The psychological impact of constant harassment began to wear on the Chromac occupation forces. The aliens were not accustomed to persistent, intelligent opposition from species They considered inferior Commander Vextar, the Chromac invasion leader, received increasingly desperate reports. From his subordinates, they described mysterious attackers who struck without warning and disappeared before retaliation was possible. The alien commander had conquered dozens of peaceful worlds. Using overwhelming force and psychological intimidation, he had never encountered enemies who adapted their tactics and fought back with increasing effectiveness. Vextar ordered increased patrols and security measures, but this only made his forces more vulnerable to human guerrilla tactics. The aliens were forced to spread their troops thinner while trying to protect multiple targets. Captain Park coordinated simultaneous attacks across the planet, forcing the Chromac to respond to emergencies in dozens of locations. The aliens never knew where the next strike would come from. The human strategy of distributed warfare completely confused the Chromac commanders, who expected enemies to mass their forces for direct confrontation. Instead, the humans seemed to be everywhere and nowhere. Elder Nira began organizing civilian Valorians for support roles in the resistance. The peaceful aliens might not be warriors, but they were intelligent and capable of providing intelligence supplies and safe houses. The partnership between humans and Valorians grew stronger as both species learned from each other. The humans taught tactical thinking and survival skills, while the Valorians shared scientific knowledge and local geography. A major breakthrough came when Valorian scientists discovered a way to interfere with Chromac communication systems using quantum physics. They developed jamming devices that could disrupt alien transmissions across wide areas. The jamming technology was tested during the largest human operation yet coordinated assaults on 3 major Chromac installations. Simultaneously, the aliens found themselves unable to communicate or coordinate their response to installations were completely destroyed, while the third was abandoned when Chromac forces retreated. In confusion, the humans captured valuable equipment and intelligence, including plans for invading other peaceful worlds. The success of these operations convinced remaining Valorians throughout the planet that liberation was truly possible. Resistance groups emerged from hiding, ready to support the final phase of the campaign. Commander Vextar realized that his invasion force faced defeat at the hands of warriors unlike any he had encountered. The mysterious enemies were skilled, persistent, and seemingly impossible to intimidate or discourage. The Chromac leader made a desperate decision to use his command ship weapons to destroy the planet major cities. If he could not conquer Valoria, he would ensure that no one else could have it. The plot ended with human intelligence networks detecting preparations for planetary bombardment. Captain Park knew that the time for guerrilla warfare had passed. The final battle would require direct assault on the enemy command ship, with an entire world fate hanging in the balance. The discovery of the Chromac plan to destroy Valoria cities sent shockwaves through the human command center. Captain Park gathered his team and the Valorian leadership for an emergency strategy session. The enemy was preparing to commit genocide. Rather than accept defeat, Commander Vextar had made his intentions clear through intercepted communications. If the Chromac could not enslave the Valorian population, they would eliminate it entirely. The massive command ship hovering above the capital was charging its main weapons for planetary bombardment. We have perhaps 6 hours before they begin the bombardment, Captain Park told the assembled group. This changes everything. We can no longer rely on guerrilla tactics. We must strike directly at their command structure. The humans faced their most challenging mission yet. The Chromac command ship was a fortress in the sky, protected by energy shields and defended by hundreds of alien warriors. It seemed impossible for a ground-based force to reach it. Lieutenant Choi worked desperately with Valorian scientists to find a weakness in the alien defenses. Dr. Hyen and his team analyzed the ship energy signatures, looking for any vulnerability they could exploit. The breakthrough came when they discovered that the Chromac shields were designed to stop large objects and energy weapons, but had gaps that small, fast-moving projectiles could penetrate. The aliens had never encountered enemies who used such tactics. This discovery led to a desperate plan. The humans would use modified Valorian atmospheric vehicles to approach the command ship at high speed, using the shield weakness to penetrate the defensive barrier. The mission required splitting the team into 2 groups. Half would assault the command ship while the others remained on the planet to coordinate a final uprising of all. Valorian Resistance Group Sergeant Yoon volunteered to lead the planetary resistance, working with Elder Nira to organize every surviving Valorian into a coordinated rebellion. The peaceful aliens had learned to fight and were ready to strike everywhere. Simultaneously, the timing had to be perfect. If the planetary uprising began too early, the Chromac might escape or call for reinforcements. If it started too late, the command ship might complete its bombardment before the assault team could stop it. Captain Park would lead the assault team, consisting of himself, Lieutenant Choi, Corporal Nam, and Private Kong. The 4 humans prepared for what they knew might be a suicide mission against impossible odds. The modified Valorian aircraft were small research vehicles equipped with basic weapons and armor. They were not designed for combat, but they were fast and maneuverable enough to possibly penetrate the alien defenses. As the assault team prepared their equipment, the planetary resistance made final preparations. Valorian groups across the planet received synchronized communication signals, giving them targets and timing for the coordinated uprising. Elder Nira addressed her people through the resistance network. Today, we fight not just for our own freedom, but for the right of all peaceful species to exist without fear. She declared, the humans have shown us that courage can overcome any odds. The humans had taught the Valorians that warfare was not about size or strength, but about determination and willingness to sacrifice for others. The peaceful aliens had learned these lessons while the Arhaian approached Captain Park with a final gift, a device that could disrupt the command ship power systems if placed in the right location. The elderly scientist's hands shook as he explained how to use it. You have given us back our world, the old Valorian said quietly. Now we give you the key to their ship. Use it well, and know that every Valorian will remember your courage forever. The assault began at precisely noon, when the planetary resistance launched coordinated attacks against every Chromac installation. On Valoria, the aliens found themselves under assault from an entire population they thought they had. Broken Sergeant Yoon coordinated the ground operations from the Resistance Command Center using human tactical doctrine combined with Valorian scientific precision. The attacks were more effective than either species could have achieved. Alone of Valorian civilians who had never held weapons before struck at alien supply lines and communication centers. The peaceful aliens fought with desperate courage, knowing that failure meant the extinction of their entire species. The Chromac forces were completely overwhelmed by the scope and coordination of the uprising. They had expected to face small groups of resistance fighters, not an entire planet in rebellion. Meanwhile, the human assault team raced toward the command ship through a storm of defensive fire. The Chromac patrol ships tried to intercept them, but the modified aircraft were too fast, and agile Lieutenant Choi calculations proved correct as the small vehicles slipped through the shield barrier and crashed into the command ship hangar bay. The humans emerged from their damaged craft to find themselves surrounded by shocked Chromac warriors. The battle inside the ship was fierce and desperate. The aliens fought bravely, but they were not prepared for the intensity and skill of human warriors. Every corridor became a battlefield, and every room had to be cleared of defenders. Captain Park led his team toward the command center, fighting through waves of enemy soldiers. The humans used superior tactics and training to overcome numerical disadvantage, but the combat was brutal and exhausting. Private Kong proved her worth as both warrior and medic, fighting beside her teammates while treating their injuries. The young soldier demonstrated the versatility that made humans such effective combatants. Corporal Nam used his demolitions expertise to destroy critical ship systems. As the team advanced, the command ship began losing power and maneuverability, making it vulnerable to the resistance forces below. Humans were not just fighting to capture the ship, they were systematically disabling it to prevent escape or continued bombardment. The aliens realized too late that their enemies understood both warfare and sabotage. On the planet's surface, the Valorian uprising exceeded all expectations. The peaceful aliens had learned to fight with scientific precision and coordinated timing that devastated the confused Chromac ground forces. Resistance groups struck at exactly the right moments to maximize damage and confusion. The aliens found their supply lines cut, their communication networks jammed, and their reinforcements trapped by Coordinated ambush, the partnership between human military knowledge and Valorian scientific analysis created a resistance movement more effective than either species could manage alone. The Chromac occupation began to collapse under the coordinated assault. Commander Vextar watched his invasion force disintegrate through reports from across the planet. The mysterious warriors had not only defeated his military forces, but had inspired an entire species to fight with unprecedented effectiveness. Chromac commander realized that his carefully planned conquest had become a complete disaster. The aliens who were supposed to be helpless slaves were now fighting like seasoned warriors under human leadership. As the human assault team approached a command center, they faced increasingly desperate resistance. The remaining Chromac defenders knew that their ship's destruction meant the end of their invasion. The aliens fought with the courage of cornered predators, but they lacked the tactical flexibility and adaptability that made humans such dangerous opponents. The corridor battles gradually turned in favor of the assault team. Captain Park could see the command center doors ahead, defended by the last group of elite Chromac warriors. These were the finest soldiers the aliens possessed, equipped with the best weapons and armor. The final battle for control of the command ship was about to begin. The fate of Valoria hung in the balance as 4 human warriors prepared to face the enemy elite guard in decisive combat. The part ended with both the planetary uprising and the ship assault reaching their climax. The Chromac invasion force was collapsing, but the most dangerous fighting still lay ahead. The humans had proven that even the most peaceful species could learn to fight when properly led and inspired. The command center doors exploded inward as Corporal Num detonated his last explosive charge. The blast cleared the way for the human assault team to storm into the heart of the Chromac command ship, where Commander Vextar waited with his elite guard. The alien commander was a massive creature even by Chromac standards, standing nearly 4 meters tall with armor that gleamed like polished obsidian. His personal guard consisted of 6 of the finest warriors the invasion force possessed. Captain Park led his team through the smoking doorway with weapons ready. The humans moved with practiced coordination, each covering specific angles of attack. The 4 warriors faced 7 aliens in a battle that would determine the fate of an entire world. Commander Vextar spoke in his harsh alien language before switching to galactic common. "So, you are the mysterious warriors who have destroyed my invasion force," he growled. "You're smaller than I expected, but I can see the fire in your eyes." The Chromac commander raised his massive energy cannon, a weapon that could vaporize a human in seconds. But Captain Park had faced impossible odds before, and he knew that confidence and speed could overcome superior firepower. Battle erupted in chaos as both sides opened fire. The human weapons spat streams of solid ammunition, while the aliens responded with devastating energy blasts. The command center filled with smoke, and the sound of combat. Lieutenant Choi rolled behind a control console and began targeting the alien computer systems. Her job was to disable the ship weapons while the others dealt with the enemy soldiers. The young officer worked with desperate efficiency. Private Kong used her medical training to identify weak points in Chromac anatomy. Her shots were precise and devastating, targeting nerve clusters and joint connections that would disable rather than kill. Corporal Nam, exhausted, his explosives switched to close combat using human martial arts techniques that the aliens had never encountered. His movements were fluid and unpredictable, confusing the larger enemies. The Chromac elite guard fought with desperate courage, but they were not prepared for human tactics. The aliens expected their enemies to match strength with strength instead of using speed and intelligence. Captain Park engaged Commander Vextar in single combat while his team dealt with the remaining guards. The alien leader was incredibly strong and well-armed, but he moved with the slow confidence of someone who had never faced serious opposition. The human captain used every advantage his training provided, moving constantly to avoid the devastating alien weapons while striking at weak points in the enemy armor. His rifle fire was precise and relentless. One by one, the Chromac elite guard fell to human weapons and tactics. The aliens fought bravely, but they could not adapt quickly enough to counter the flexible human fighting style. Commander Vextar realized that his guards were losing and activated the ship emergency systems. Alarms blared throughout the vessel as blast doors began sealing and artificial gravity fluctuated, the alien commander made a final desperate charge at Captain Park, hoping to use his size and strength to crush the human leader. But Park had anticipated this tactic and was ready with a counterattack. The human captain rolled aside as the massive alien thundered past, then fired his remaining ammunition into the weak points. Lieutenant Choi had identified in the enemy armor. Commander Vextar staggered and fell with their leader. Defeated, the last Chromac guards surrendered. The humans had captured the command ship, and with it control of the entire invasion fleet. The impossible mission had succeeded. Lieutenant Choi quickly accessed the ship communication systems and broadcast surrender demands to all remaining Chromac forces. The message was simple: lay down weapons and prepare for evacuation or face continued resistance. The alien soldiers scattered across Valoria were leaderless and demoralized. Many had already been defeated by the planetary uprising. Those who remained chose surrender rather than hopeless resistance. Captain Park took control of the ship primary systems and began recalling all Chromac vessels in the star system. The invasion fleet, designed for conquering peaceful worlds, was not prepared for the kind of warfare they had experienced on the planet's surface. Sergeant Yoon coordinated the final phase of the Valorian uprising. Resistance groups emerged from hiding throughout the world to accept the surrender of defeated alien forces. The Chromac soldiers who had terrorized the peaceful planet just days before now stood with their hands raised, facing determined Valorian civilians who had learned to fight. The transformation was remarkable. Private Kang organized medical care for wounded fighters on both sides, demonstrating the human principle that mercy should be shown to defeated enemies. The Valorians were amazed by this compassion toward former oppressors. Elder Nira stood in the ruins of her capital city watching Chromac soldiers being led away as prisoners. She could barely believe that the nightmare was over and her people were free. The rescued Valorian prisoners were reunited with their families in emotional scenes that moved even the hardened human warriors. The peaceful aliens expressed gratitude that transcended language barriers. Dr. Haiyan and his team of scientists worked with the humans to catalog captured alien technology and weapons. The intelligence gathered would help protect other peaceful worlds from similar invasions. The partnership between human tactical expertise and Valorian scientific knowledge had proven incredibly effective. Both species had learned from each other, creating capabilities neither possessed. A lone corporal Nam led teams through the captured alien facilities, documenting equipment and procedures. The humans wanted to ensure that the Chromac invasion techniques could be countered if used against other worlds. The liberation of Valoria was complete, but the work of rebuilding had just begun. The humans shared their knowledge of construction and engineering, while the Valorians contributed their advanced scientific understanding. Back at Galactic Alliance headquarters, Admiral Beor Lee received reports of the successful mission with amazement. The human team had not only liberated an entire world, but had captured a complete invasion fleet. The other Alliance species were forced to reconsider their opinions about humans. The Zentari, who had opposed the mission, now admitted that Earth warriors had proven their worth. The Axiom acknowledged human effectiveness. Captain Park prepared his team for the return journey to Earth, but all of them had been changed by their experience. They had learned that their role was not just as warriors, but as teachers and protectors. The team said goodbye to their Valorian allies, but the bonds formed during the liberation would last forever. Elder Nira presented each human with a crystal pendant, a traditional symbol of honor and friendship. The Valorians promised to remember the lessons they had learned about courage and determination. They would establish their own defense forces, trained in human tactics to protect their world and help other peaceful species. As the human ship prepared to leave, hundreds of Valorians gathered to watch their departure. The aliens who had once cowered in fear now stood proudly, having learned that they too could be brave. The journey back to Earth gave the team time to reflect on their experiences. They had proven that humans could be effective Alliance members, but had also learned that their greatest strength was inspiring others. Lieutenant Choi compiled detailed reports of the mission, including analysis of alien technology and tactics. This intelligence would be shared with all Alliance members to help protect other worlds. The liberation of Valoria had established Earth as a valuable alliance member and opened new opportunities for cooperation with other species. The galaxy had learned that sometimes the best reinforcements come from unexpected sources. The part ended with the promise that this victory was just the beginning. The partnership between humans and Valorians would serve as a model for future cooperation between warrior and peaceful species in the galaxy. The Soul Pride approached Earth orbit 3 weeks after leaving Valoria, carrying not just returning heroes but the promise of a new era for humanity in the galaxy. Captain Park stood on the bridge watching his home world grow larger, feeling the weight of what his team had accomplished. The mission had started as a desperate rescue operation but had become something much more important. The humans had proven that Earth deserved respect in the Galactic Alliance and that peaceful species could learn to defend themselves when properly guided. Admiral Biora Lee waited at the orbital station with representatives from dozens of Alliance species who had come to witness the return of the warriors who had achieved the impossible. The liberation of Valoria had sent shockwaves throughout the galaxy. The human team disembarked to find themselves treated as heroes, but they knew that their real reward was the knowledge that they had saved an entire civilization. The Valorians were free and the galaxy was safer. Lieutenant Choi presented her detailed reports to the Alliance leadership, providing crucial intelligence about Chromac tactics and technology. The information would help protect other peaceful worlds from similar invasions. The captured alien equipment was turned over to Alliance scientists for study, but the humans kept copies of everything they had learned. The knowledge would be shared freely with any species that needed it. Private Kang received special recognition for her medical work during the mission, treating both human and alien wounded with equal care. Her compassion had shown the galaxy that Earth warriors were more than just fighters. Corporal Nam expertise in sabotage and demolitions had proved crucial to the mission's success. His tactical innovations were studied by Alliance military academies and incorporated into their training program. Sergeant Yun coordination of the Valorian resistance had been masterful, turning peaceful civilians into effective fighters in just days. His leadership techniques became required study for all Alliance officers. The Alliance Council met in emergency session to discuss the implications of the Valoria liberation. The human success had changed the balance of power in the galaxy and forced a reevaluation of Earth. The Zentari delegation, which had opposed sending humans to Valoria, now praised their courage and effectiveness. The Axiom representatives admitted that they had underestimated human capabilities and requested joint training programs. Captain Park was invited to address the full Alliance Council, a honor rarely given to representatives of newer member species. He spoke simply about the mission, emphasizing the partnership between humans and Valorians did not conquer Valoria. He told the assembled delegates, "We liberated it. The Valorians fought alongside us, and their courage was equal to ours. The victory belongs to both our species working together." The Alliance voted unanimously to establish new protocols for dealing with aggressive species like the Chromac. Empire Earth would lead a new rapid response force designed to help peaceful worlds under attack. Meanwhile, on Valoria, the reconstruction continued with remarkable speed. The partnership between human engineering knowledge and Valorian scientific expertise produced innovations that benefited both species. Elder Nira sent regular reports to Earth, updating the humans on their progress. The Valorians had established their own defense force, trained in human tactics but adapted to their peaceful nature. The crystal cities of Valoria rose again from the ruins, but now they included defensive systems and training facilities. The peaceful aliens had learned that sometimes the price of peace was the readiness to fight. Dr. Hyen and his team of scientists continued their collaboration with human researchers, sharing discoveries that advanced both civilizations. The exchange of knowledge had created breakthroughs in medicine, technology, and physics. The former Chromac prisoners were treated with surprising mercy by the Valorians, who had learned human concepts of justice and rehabilitation. Many aliens chose to remain on Valoria, contributing to the reconstruction effort. Commander Vextar, imprisoned but alive, provided valuable intelligence about Chromac military organization and future invasion plans. The information helped Alliance forces prepare for encounters with other aggressive species. The captured Chromac fleet was refitted with Alliance technology and placed under joint human-Valorian command. The ships that had once brought terror now served as protectors of peaceful worlds. Captain Park received promotion to Admiral in command of the new Alliance Rapid Response Force. His team became the core of an elite unit trained to handle similar crises throughout the galaxy. The success of Valoria led to requests for help from other peaceful species facing aggression. The humans found themselves in demand as both warriors and teachers, showing others how to defend themselves. Lieutenant Choi established the Alliance Tactical Training Institute, where peaceful species could learn defensive strategies without abandoning their core values. The program became incredibly popular. The institute taught that warfare was not about aggression or conquest, but about protecting innocent life and preserving freedom. The philosophy resonated with many species who had never considered military action private. K.